Hello everyone, welcome to my Xbox VMS SDJ practice guide. I will be teaching how you can most efficiently practice SDJ and VMS and how you can hit both tricks consistently. This tutorial assumes that you already know how the tricks work, and if you don't yet know how the tricks work, I recommend watching the tutorial made by 4, which is linked in the description. So to start off, I will show you the most efficient way of practicing SDJ. You just want to go over to this area of downtown SpongeBob. Since this platform is moving vertically, we can use it to get an SDJ. Because the SpongeBob transformation takes a bit of time, you want to land on the platform a bit after it starts descending. Then just roll around a bit until you transform. Something like that. Now notice that if you did it right, the platform tilts based on where you go with the SpongeBob. Because this game has stored that you are located on the platform. So if I go to this side, the platform tilts the other way, and now it tilts that. Use this to get the location where you transform to get as high as possible. Now I just transformed kind of in the middle, so this really doesn't matter, but if you transform on one of the sides, then you can use this to get that side as high as possible. And now you can perform the SDJ by pressing B and then A the frame after. For this exercise you also want to spin right after the SDJ to stop your upwards momentum such that you can quickly practice it again. So let me just quickly get it. The reason I recommend practicing SDJ here is also because, to my knowledge, this setup has the quickest retry. Now noteworthy about practicing this, even though this was also mentioned in 4's tutorial, is how you figure out what you did wrong. If SpongeBob jumps but does not shoot into the air, that means there was at least one frame in between the B press and the A press, assuming that the platform setup was good. So let me show that. So if I do the right platform setup, and I just jump and I don't shoot into the air, that's because I pressed B and then I pressed A more than a frame afterwards. Now if you displace up but you do not get a jump, that means you press B and A on the same frame, assuming you did press A after B. You can use this feedback to get as consistent as possible at hitting the A button a 60th of a second after B. So let me just show that. Also, so if you do the right setup, that's what happens if you press B and A on the same frame. Another thing worth mentioning is that it is impossible to get truly consistent at this. You cannot press the A button literally exactly a 60th of a second after pressing the B button. And if your timing is off by only a microsecond, it is already possible that the frames happen to line up in your disfavor. So even though you can get incredibly consistent doing this, later in this video I will be showing off a truly consistent way of getting an SDJ. Okay, so for this next part, we go to rock bottom. Here you can most efficiently practice platform VMS. I assume most viewers are not interested in platform VMS, but I still recommend learning it because it is a useful stepping stone into learning SpongeBob VMS. Basically, the second part of performing SpongeBob VMS is exactly what you do in platform VMS. So practicing this first will make learning SpongeBob VMS a lot easier. When you talk to Plankton right here as Sandy, you unlock the lasers warp, which you want to use for this exercise. Now we get over to this elevator that's right over here. And remember from Force tutorial that you jump higher when you are on a rising platform. So as you can see, I just jumped higher than I normally would. If you just pause the game while you are standing on the elevator as it is rising, we can take this higher jump to any warp with VMS. So just pause the game while you are going up and then warp back to lasers for this exercise. And now we just perform VMS. And as you can see, you jump a bit higher. In order to see whether you got it or not, you can look at this ledge right here. When Sandy's feet go over the ledge, that means you succeeded, and otherwise you did not. So let me just show that one more time. So there Sandy's feet went over the ledge, and that means that I got it. Okay. And when I just jump, that would mean that's what you would see if you missed the jump frame. And then you can see that Sandy's feet do not go over the ledge. Now let me explain how you can get this down truly consistently. So let's do it again. So first of all, the inputs are as follows. You unplug the controller during the warp, so now I just unplugged. Then you wait for this prompt to appear, and then you replug the controller, and then you press start to get rid of the prompt. And now you want to press B and then A the frame after. However, as I mentioned earlier, it is impossible to do so truly consistently. But here is the difference. When you press A more than a frame after B, then you messed up. However, when you press A on the same frame as B, this happens. And then you can just press B and try again, at the cost of less than a second if you get used to this. So the only thing you truly need to avoid is pressing A more than a frame after B. This means that you can get this trick truly consistent if you press A like 100th of a second after B. The quicker you press the buttons, the easier it is to get truly consistent, but also the more often you will have to press B to try again. There you go. Now for this next exercise is about the first part of performing SpongeBob VMS. You need to be able to press the start button and the B button on the same frame. And by the same logic as earlier, it is impossible to do so truly consistently. However, we can apply a similar trick as before. When you press start a frame or more after B, you mess up the trick. However, when you press B a frame or more after start, you just open and close the menu. Like this. Notice that you do not even see the menu sometimes. And that happens when you press B exactly the frame after start. But you will still hear the pause sound, like that. So this means that you can get this part of SpongeBob VMS truly consistently if you always press B after start. Because then you will never accidentally press start a frame after B and mess up the trick. The quicker you press the buttons, the less often you will have to try again, but the higher the risk of accidentally pressing B before start. So to practice this, just go anywhere as SpongeBob and make sure that the bubble ball is unlocked. When you successfully press start and B on the same frame, the game just pauses. And when you unpause, you are just bowling. However, when you press start a frame or more after B, the same thing happens. So this exercise is not perfect in any way, but when you press B a frame or more after start, you hear the pause menu open and close. So when you got this down to the point where you hear but not see the pause menu about half the times, and the other half of the times the pause, you just pause and unpausing shows you bowling, then you probably got this part of SpongeBob VMS down. Now, I recommend not doing this exercise for too long as it does not give great feedback, but I do recommend trying it out. And before you use the skill you built up with the previous exercises to perform SpongeBob VMS, I recommend first learning to perform SDJ with pause buffering. The reason being that it is performed exactly the same way, but it is much faster to practice. This, by the way, is the truly consistent method of getting SDJs successfully, which I was talking about earlier. So for this exercise, you want to go back to this area of downtown as SpongeBob. You want to perform the same SpongeBob setup as with the SDJ. Alright. Now instead of pressing B and then A, you want to press start and B on the same frame. And now remember from earlier that the truly consistent way of doing this is by pressing B ever so slightly after you press start. When successfully performed, the pause menu should open. Now you want to press B and then A the frame after. And remember from earlier that the truly consistent way of doing this is by pressing the buttons less than a 60th of a second apart. And when you did everything correctly, you should shoot into the air, just like with any SDJ. And then you want to spin, such that you fall down, and you can just try again, and keep practicing this. Once you get the pause buffered SDJ down, you should probably be able to get SpongeBob VMS as well. Now to set up that exercise, you first want to collect the Poseidon spatula. Either by defeating Robo Sandy or by performing Dome Clip. And this will spawn this SpongeBob in Hub 1. You then want to press this button, because the first time you do this in a save file, this cutscene plays. You do not want that during your practice. And now to actually perform the exercise, you just want to warp to on top of the pineapple. And you want to do this kind of quickly to make the cycle. But you just want to do SpongeBob storage to the button, and then slam the button, and make sure to hold A to get a higher bounce, jump more to the left, and then transform onto the platform. And then, when the platform gets high, you want to perform the first part of SpongeBob VMS, where you need to press start and be on the same frame. So that's what I just did. Now, you just warp back to the top of the pineapple. During the load, you unplug your controller. When the unplug prompt appears, you want to replug the controller and then press start to get rid of the prompt. And now you want to do the second part of SpongeBob VMS, where you press B and then A the frame after. And then you should shoot into the air, and you can spin to get back down and try again. Now that spin was kind of late, so I'm not going to make the cycle now probably. And if that happens, you can just rewarp and try again. So this is the most efficient way I know of to practice SpongeBob VMS. Unplug, replug, start, and there you go. Now there's one last thing I want to mention about unplugging your controller that should avoid you from ruining your Xbox by doing this over and over. The cable of your controller should have a plug itself. So you want to unplug your controller by disconnecting this plug, instead of removing the cable from the Xbox. This way you only ruin your controller cable and not your Xbox itself. And since Xbox controllers do not last long anyways, this barely even matters anymore. So that is about all I have to say about practicing and performing SDJ and VMS. And I hope this helps everyone get truly consistent at SDJ and VMS. Good luck practicing, and thanks for watching.